It's good to have Brother Mike back. He's been traveling quite a bit, and good to have him here. Missed him. I was thinking about the other day as I have gone out soul winning over the years. There's a little bit different tactic that I use when I knock on a door versus when I see somebody out on the street. If I see somebody out on the street, I'll often walk up to them and say, "Hey, how you doing? I know something about you." Their eyes get really big. I say, "Yeah, I know the things that you've done." And I'm pretty judicious about the people I say that to, but I know the things that you've done, and their eyes get real big. And I said, "I know, because I've done the same thing. I know who you are because I know who I am." And as I look at this group here today, I would tell you, I know you. I know who you are. I know what you've done. I know you've said wrong things to other people. I know you've had wrong thoughts. I know you've lied. I know you've probably taken something that didn't belong to you. I said that to one guy one time. He said, No. I said, "I bet you when you were in elementary school you took a pencil." "Yeah, I did." I know you. I know you because I know me. And we're just like everybody else in the world. We all have done or are doing things of the lust of the flesh, of the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. Wouldn't it be great if I didn't fulfill the lust of this flesh? Wouldn't that be a wonderful life if I could do that? And in order to not fulfill the lust of the flesh, the Lord gives us some specific points that we should do about that. Are you satisfied with the lust of your flesh? Look in Galatians chapter 5, if you would, please. How do I stop the things that I do? How do I stop doing them? Galatians chapter 5, and we'll begin at verse number 16. "This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envying, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and of such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in times past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God." This is where I want to be in life, right here. But the fruit of the Spirit. Does the fruit of the Spirit always exhibit itself in my life? If I'm truthful, I have to tell you no. Does the fruit of the Spirit always exhibit itself in your life? If you're truthful, you'll have to say no. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Christ have crucified the flesh, and with the affections and lust. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. Oh, the bondage of sin in my life as a saved guy. It's a horrible thing. It will control our life if we don't battle the flesh on a regular basis. It's there. It is there in all of us, whether we're saved or not saved. It's always there. And it takes nothing to cultivate that sin in our flesh. It grows of its own volition. It just grows and grows. We don't have to work on it one bit. Linda and I we're trying to put in a garden. And asking John and Amy, they have a wonderful garden, but we worked hard to get it ready. We built some big boxes so that I don't have to be out there weeding all the time, because I would be the one weeding. So boxes were something we must do. We worked on getting the dirt to put in the boxes and cultivating that dirt. And Linda has begun growing seeds in under a grow light so that we can plant it. It's taken a lot of work, and we don't have anything in the ground yet. It's taken a whole bunch of work. I don't have to do anything to cultivate this flesh. It just grows and grows if I don't fight it. It's innate. It's a natural thing that happens to me and to you. It grows on its own. It's really the weed of our life. You know, you don't have to do anything to grow weeds. They just happen. This flesh that gets in us and grows are the weeds of our life. The flesh is my antagonist of life. It fights me all the time. You know what an antagonist is? It's the guy that does the bad things to the main character in the story. It's the antagonist of my life. It's always there, and I have to fight it all the time. And concerning the flesh and the spirit, they are always opposed to each other. They are against it. They cannot reside with each other. They're fighting each other. The flesh is sort of the gravity of my life. It's just there. Can't explain it. It's just there. But I do have to eliminate it. Our oldest child, Michelle, she's now 43 years old, I think, 43. When she was a baby, she was a cute little thing, I have to admit, but I think everybody thinks that about their kids. She was a good baby. We got to the point where we could discern that's a hungry cry. That's a hurt cry. One day she was in her room just wailing. So we ran in there and we got over and she looked up and smiled at us. You rascal. We laughed again. And she did it again. We ran in there to see what was wrong and she just smiled at us. Her flesh wanted us to pay attention to her. That's what the flesh does. It always wants attention in our life. Do you know that? The flesh is always back there saying, look at that. Go there. Do this. You have a right to stand up for yourself. That's the flesh. Look, if you would, at verse number 19. The first 4 acts mentioned here of the flesh are sexual and sensual acts. Adultery, fornication. That uncleanness is talking about unclean sexual acts. Lasciviousness is talking about a preoccupation with lustful things. Ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh if we walk in the Spirit. And I'm going to tell every one of us here, every one of us, this is something that will attack us in the flesh if we're not walking in the Spirit. The next 2 things that are mentioned are the result of violating the greatest commandment. What's the greatest commandment? To love God, to love the Lord thy God. Verse number 20, idolatry, witchcraft. I'm not a big follower of TikTok. I have a friend that actually works at TikTok in Nashville. And he has told me that there is a growing, he's a Christian. I've told him I think he needs to leave TikTok, but he has said they are, the volume of things on TikTok that deal with witchcraft, Wiccan type stuff is growing. That is idolatry. That, watch out what you look at. The next group of actions that our flesh will take violates the second greatest commandment. And what is that? Yeah, love your neighbor, love your brother as yourself. Hatred. Hatred. Variance is being in disagreement with somebody that produces discord in life. If there is discord and we are the cause of that discord, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not the Spirit of God that's leading us there. It's the flesh that's leading us there. Variance, emulations, are contentions with other people, rivalries. I'm going to do better than them at this. I am going to win. Emulations, a one-upmanship is what that is. That is not of the Spirit. That is of the flesh. I'm telling us the things that I know we battle in life. We will fight these things, and they will either win or the Spirit of God will take control. Talks about wrath, violent anger against other people, and then obviously murders. The next group of actions that we do in this life that are mentioned are the results of us depending upon our earthly wisdom as we traverse this thing called life. Strife, opposition, and being contrary to other people just because you want to be contrary to other people. Seditions, unlawful actions against authority, heresies, envying. And then lastly, the things that are mentioned that are the results of the things that we sow to the flesh. I know a young man today, he's saved, but he has sown to the flesh things that are controlling his life. And it's mentioned here, drunkenness. Things that because we allow the flesh to win over the Spirit, we sow some things in our life that makes life difficult for us. And this guy that's saved lives a life where he fights drunkenness all the time. Reveling, wild partying, things that we sow because we fail to fight the battle of the Spirit and the flesh, and we allow the flesh to win. And these things get in our life and we can't get rid of them. And the flesh manifests itself in you and me. I don't know the specific battle with the flesh that you have, but I know you have one. I know you do. I do. What are the results? What are the results of fulfilling the lust of this flesh? Look at verse 17. For the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary, the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. I want to love God supremely. I do. That's what I would do. But I can't when I fulfill the lust of the flesh. I want to love my spouse as I should. But I can't when I fulfill the lust of my flesh. I want to be kind and loving to others. Well, most of you. But I can't when I fulfill the lust of my flesh. My flesh loves me supremely. Supremely. My flesh loves me and not my wife as I should. My flesh loves me and not you. And that's the battle that we face every day. And one of them is going to reign supreme, so that you cannot do the things that you would. If the Spirit is not in control of our life, the flesh will be. One of them is going to rule and reign. It's never a void position. One of them has that position in our life. If the Spirit isn't in control, the flesh will be, and I can't talk right to people. If the Spirit is not in control, and the flesh will be, I will be selfishly looking out for self. I will cheat. And you fill in the blank. Income taxes or anything else. When the flesh is in control, I will lie to people. If the Spirit is not controlling me, I won't give my company an honest full day's work. If the Spirit is not leading me and the flesh leads me, if there is a conflict between two people, you pick out any two people, I guarantee you, there used to be a guy in Louisiana who was a chef. I guarantee. You remember that? Y'all remember that guy? No, but I guess I'm the only old person here. You remember that? I guarantee. I guarantee if there is a conflict between spouses, between siblings, between friends, the flesh is in control. Period. It's impossible to have those contentions if one person has the Spirit of God in control of their life. It's impossible if the Spirit of God is controlling me to have contention with you. So what are my instructions to keep from fulfilling the lust of the flesh? Look at verse 25 of Galatians chapter 5. If we live in the Spirit, let me first talk about that. That is simply saying, if you live in the Spirit, you are a saved person. It's impossible for an unsaved person to live in the Spirit. No one has ever, since Adam and Eve, has ever lived in the Spirit as an unsaved person. Has never happened, never will happen. That's all that is simply saying. If we live in the Spirit as a saved person, walk in the Spirit. Look at verse 16. Then I say, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Verse 25. If we live in the Spirit, being a saved person, let us also walk in the Spirit. What in the world does that even mean, Jeff, to walk in the Spirit? Excuse me. The Spirit, as I've said before, and the flesh are contrary. Do y'all have that fight in you? Do you have that battle in you? Am I the only one? Is that battle in you? If it's not, I would check about my salvation. I would check it. That battle's going to be there as a saved person. Man, I shouldn't do this, but man, I did it again. That is the battle that every saved person will have. The Spirit and the flesh are mutually exclusive. We cannot live partly in the flesh and partly in the Spirit. Take any instance of life, any 10-second, 1 minute, 1 hour situation, look at your life. Here's a great one. Man, I left church. Man, the Holy Spirit spoke to my heart. Man, I have got to do some things. The Holy Spirit has directed me to do some things specific in my life. I feel like I am getting closer to God because of what I just heard and what He did in my life. Then we get in the car with our spouse. We leave church, and it's not 10 minutes. What are you talking about? I can't believe that. And everybody here that's married knows exactly what I'm saying. I'm not looking at anybody right now. Before we get home, the flesh has reared its head, and a stupid, fleshly argument ensues. The flesh is my enemy, and yours too. But if we walk in the Spirit, that argument that we just had in the car, not going to happen. You say, well, can I disagree? Yeah, you can disagree. There's a way to disagree. And not get mad and get angry at that person. One of my favorite characters in church history is Polycarp. Has anybody heard of him? Polycarp. He was the preacher at the church in Smyrna. He died a martyr's death. They burned him at the stake, but he didn't die in the fire quick enough, so they took long spears and stabbed him to death. Polycarp. As they were bringing him to the stakes to be tied up and bound and thrown into the fire, he said this to the people that were going to kill him. So you're getting ready to burn me. And you're threatening me with a fire that will burn for just a few minutes. But you're willfully ignorant of the fire that will burn for eternity. Polycarp walked in the Spirit. He was a guy that was led by the Spirit of God, that in the worst instance of anybody's life, he didn't think of self. He thought of the Lord and the Lord's goodness and what other people needed in this life. And that was the Lord. If we walk in the Spirit, it will change our life, where He guides us with the very thoughts and the words that we say. That is being led by the Spirit of God. No matter what comes my way, I am going to listen to Him. We must walk in the Spirit, one step at a time on this path that we call life. One step, Lord, is this the step that you desire me to take? You know, we start our Christian life just like a little kid learning to walk. The Scriptures teach me. The Spirit guides me. I stumble. I fall. But be patient. Get up and walk again in the Spirit of God, keeping up the battle, fighting with the Spirit of God against the flesh to do what we should. And as we get stronger, we can run the race with patience that is set before us. And we can enter in, like Polycarp, to a crown of glory, thanking the Lord for all He's done in our life. Look at verse number 22 of Galatians chapter 5. The result of walking in the Spirit is this. This is what our life can be by simply walking with the Lord. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. In my mind, I can see Jeff over here. I don't like that guy. I'm going to get him back. I can see, as a Christian, that guy. Or I can be this guy. I love him. I pray for him. Our choice in life is to be one of those two people. They will, love, joy, peace can replace adultery and fornication and uncleanness and lasciviousness and idolatry and all those things. Who are we going to be in this Christian life? Living for self, living for the flesh or living in the Spirit, there is great peace and joy over here. There is dissatisfaction over here. Man, it is a hard, tough life. And we're disgruntled about everything. We like nobody and nothing in life over here. When we live in love, joy, and peace, we begin to see the fruit of the Spirit in our life. Those traits will set us apart from the world. You know what the world needs? They need to see real Christians. I know that when Polycarp was standing before those stakes, getting ready to be burned, the way he lived his life at death had an influence on those around who saw that. That is what we can do if we live in love, joy, and peace in the Spirit of God. It will impact other people. They will see a difference. They saw no difference in me over here. Everybody's like that. Why do I want Christianity? Love, joy, peace, that list, that is the fruit that we can have. And it takes time for us in our Christian life to get to the point where the fruit is preeminent in our life and very visible to all. Oh, you know, prior to getting saved, I loved my family. I love my mom, my dad. I love my grandparents. One of my sisters, maybe not, but I love my family. And I experienced some joy in this life prior to getting saved. And I put up with other people who I thought were wrong in life. But when the Holy Spirit of God produces fruit in us, I begin to really understand to a greater degree what love, joy, and peace is in life. It can't compare to the love I had as an unsaved person. I begin to see people for who they really are. People that need the Lord. That's the type of life that you and I should lead. I want that true love and joy and peace and long-suffering and gentleness and goodness and faith and meekness and temperance in my life so that you see that in my life. Not to show off, but because God has done something great and wonderful in my life, and it's evident. It is evident what He's done, and I want that. When we walk in the Spirit of God, we will understand and live and with a desire primarily and ultimately to serve Him. Only one life, 'twill soon be past. I can really say that now as an old guy. It happens so fast. Will soon be past. Only what's done for FedEx, for American Home Shield, for your company will last. No. Only what's done for Christ will last. Think about the flesh in your life. Allow the Spirit of God to take control. The love of those two are completely different. The joy of those two are absolutely different. The peace that passeth all understanding between those two is totally different. The remedy for a Christian that battles the flesh is to allow the Spirit of God to lead me. Somebody come to me the other day, and I think I might have said this a few weeks back. Come to me the other day and said, I've got a plan that we can use to build this church. I told him, I said, I'm not trying to build this church. I'm going to let the Lord do that. I'm going to walk with the Lord. Who are you walking with? Who is by our side today? And who will be next to me tomorrow as we go out to work? Is it my flesh? Or is it the Spirit of God? Verse 24 says, and they that are Christ's have crucified the flesh. They've killed it. They have fought that flesh and put it on the cross with Jesus. They have crucified the flesh with the affections and lust. I don't know your battle in the flesh that you have. But as I said at the beginning, I know you have one. I know you do. Crucify it. Well, it's hard. Kill it. Crucify it. Die to the flesh. Go ahead and die to the flesh. It won't kill us. To eliminate that thing, that sin that gets us and controls us. Paul said it this way, and I'll be done. I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live. Yet not I, but Christ that liveth in me. We have got to learn that this flesh is no good for us. It's no good. And if I am to live and be all that I can be in this life, I am going to have to live to Him, unto Jesus Christ. And He will give us a peace, a love that will pass all understanding. Walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. We're dismissed.